I'm live again, and I wanted to just do an AMA, but of course, I left off yesterday by saying that if you watched the live and I didn't get to answer any of the questions that you were putting in the chat, to either put it in the community tab on YouTube or drop it in on Instagram comment or DM me on Instagram. So I have a couple of questions already from yesterday's live. And if you missed yesterday's live, I focused on just knowing the different types of investments. So I talked about stocks, bonds, index funds, ETFs, and the difference between all of those. We also talked about how when you open an investment account, it's like a container. And then you can put money inside of that account. You can transfer cash into it, but then you got to use that cash to buy investments, right? So that was also another point where you might open a brokerage account, then transfer cash in, then you have to buy shares of stock, ETFs, index funds, whatever it is you want to buy. Same thing with the Roth IRA, same thing with, any other investment accounts like 529s, etc. You have to open the account first. It's just a container. Then you have to link it to your bank account so you can transfer cash in, and then you could use that cash to buy investments. So we covered that yesterday, which is good. But now we're kind of going to go through and just see if there's like any specific questions. There were a few questions from yesterday's live. So I just want to go through those questions from yesterday's live and see if we can get through them. I took some pictures of some, and then I also just going to open my DM. So the first one is, this economy is so messed up. Like, damn, we had to start investing at 10 years old. Okay, facts. The economy is messed up, but the economy has often been messed up. If you're Gen Z, you're probably experiencing a messed up economy right now for like maybe the second time. Maybe like COVID was probably like the first real bad economic time. And then now, 5 years later, like we're dealing with a lot of the after effects of some of the policies and some of the decisions that were made at the federal level with the federal budget to kind of try to help appease what was going on during the pandemic, right? So it is definitely a rough economy. Now, I think this question is specifically on a video that I made where I said, if you teach every teenager that if they start putting a little piece of their income into a Roth IRA, a custodial Roth IRA, because even if you're under 18, you can still have a Roth IRA as long as it's a custodial account. And I talked about how you could take a little bit of your paycheck and imagine if everybody did this 10 years old, 15 years old, 12 years old, 14, whatever age, right? And they could do it for 20 years. By the time they're in their 30s, by the time they're in their early 40s, they would have been investing for 20, 30 years. So the point that I was trying to make was that the earlier you start, the better off it's going to be in terms of the more time you have for money to compound and grow, and then you can enjoy it sooner. Instead of having to wait till you're 65, what if you can enjoy when you're 35? If you don't have to wait till you're 72, maybe you could enjoy it when you're 42, right? So that was my whole point, was the only way to do that is instead of waiting to start investing from 25 to 65, what if you start investing from 15 to 35, right? Like offset things. Now, I understand if you listen to that video, you probably think I'm saying that 10-year-olds should start investing. But what I really meant and what I should have said was that parents are the ones who are really, truly responsible for this, because a 10-year-old doesn't really have a lot of self-efficacy. They don't really got a lot of agency. You know what I'm saying? When you're 10 years old, you can't just get up and do whatever the heck you want, right? You're not of legal age yet, and your parents are responsible for you. And so what I meant to say, and what I mean by what I put in that video, is parents need to start early. And the thing about this is, this ain't new, okay? I think this is new information for people who grew up without a lot of access to money, without access to wealth, especially people like me, if you're first generation, or if your parents never went to college. I'm first generation American, first generation to go to college, and first generation in my family to invest. So a lot of those first generation labels means that I'm out here figuring this out on my own, just navigating things, trying to figure out the financial system in this country kind of on my own, right? Because I don't have my parents to explain how it works to me. So that's why it feels like, wait, what? I'm supposed to do this at 10 years old? No, your parents are supposed to do this for you when you're in diapers, boo. Your parents are supposed to open an account for you the moment you get that birth certificate. The moment they pick your name, they also should pick the brokerage firm that they're going to open your custodial brokerage account with. But these are not decisions that we are taught to make, because we don't get financial literacy education, because we don't get taught about generational wealth creation, or let alone passing down generational wealth from one generation to the next in the smartest possible ways that would be tax efficient. So at the end of the day, I know your sentiments and are valid, and I want to like validate that you being upset about feeling like, wait, what? I'm supposed to have started when I was 10 years old. What the heck? Like, I feel you. But what I really want you to do is understand that if your parents didn't do that for you when you were 10, you can do this for your kids when they're 10. Shoot, you could do this for your kids when they're 10 weeks, when they're 10 months, when they're still in diapers. That's when this can be the most powerful, because a lot of the wealthy people that I've learned from, that I've read books from, that I've met and interacted with, they start these accounts for their babies when their babies are still not even crawling yet. So I'm just trying to put you on, if you didn't already know that. If you already know all of this and seems basic to you, you were probably one of the lucky few to have the privilege to be able to learn this in your home, or specifically within your community, maybe within your school, wherever it is you learned it early. Great, good for you. But I'm telling you, most people don't know this stuff. And that's why it's so important that we teach financial literacy in schools, because most parents don't know. How are you supposed to teach your kids something that you don't even know yourself? So it's very important for us to really push for systemic and institutional change, meaning that everyone who goes to a public school in the United States will graduate with the same baseline knowledge as it relates to how the financial system works in the country. So that's my little, that's me on my little soapbox right there, because I feel like that comment, I understand the frustration, but I just wanted to address it. So that was on Instagram. Okay, let me see. Another one on Instagram was, great. Now, how do I get a job when I literally applied for 30 different places and never hear back from none of them? Okay, so this one is probably in a response to a video, that one of the reels that I posted, that said that I never really settled for one source of income, because even when I had my 9 to 5 with my 401k, I also always had side hustles, whether that was tutoring, whether that was babysitting, whatever it was. I always try to have multiple sources of income. So this person's probably frustrated, like, bitch, if I could, I would have multiple jobs. I can't even get one job. Valid AF. I feel you. I totally understand. The economy is rough, and especially with so much unemployment, federal jobs are being cut left to right. Bruh, you're correct. But what I would say to you is, you have to change your approach, because when you look at the research for the majority of people who just got a job offer, they were probably referred by someone in that job. So whenever you look at how many empty jobs, or jobs, that roles that need to be filled right now at many different companies all throughout, the majority of those roles are filled through company referrals, which means you got to start talking to everybody you know. Start telling everybody and their mama that you're looking for work, and ask them if their company is hiring, or do they know of anybody who is looking to hire, because those people could then put a recommendation in for you. They could even straight up take your resume and cover letter and email it directly to the hiring manager and say, this person, I vouch for them. And if you hired me and you like me and you trust me and I'm doing good work at your company, you're going to know that you can trust me to refer you someone who's also going to be good and quality in this workplace. So that's pretty much how it works. I think if you're sitting down and you said, I applied for 30 plus different places and haven't heard back from one of them, okay, so you probably went on Indeed.com or Idealist or LinkedIn and just started submitting your resume blindly to like 30, 40 places. And look, I did that before. I'm not going to lie to you. I did that in my early 20s when I was fresh out of college, and actually not right out of college, because I already had a job lined up, because I did Teach for America, which is an AmeriCorps program. But right after my teaching program, I was looking for another job, and I started going on Idealist and Indeed and all these job sites and just putting applications in, right? Now, there's a slim chance that you might actually get an email back from one of those. So I'm not telling you to cut it out and not do that. You can still do that. It is, at the end of the day, a numbers game. How many jobs have you applied for? But also, the priority of your time and energy and strategy should be focused on referrals. So you should try to identify as many people as you can who can put a recommendation in for you, who can put you in a referral, because at the end of the day, that's how the majority of jobs and roles get filled. Okay, so don't make it like a cold application, right? A cold application means it's cold, means nobody knows you at that company. You're just another name, resume, application in a stack of probably thousands of applicants. A warm application is one where you got a warm intro. That means you knew someone, or someone there is going to recognize your name and your resume, and they can put in a good word for you. So try to reduce the time and energy you're putting towards cold applications and increase the amount of time, energy, and strategy that you're focusing on warm applications, meaning going through someone who knows you, who can make a warm intro for you or a warm recommendation for you. That shift in strategy is everything. I'm telling you right now. All right, so let me pause real quick and take a look at this chat box. Jay Davis, you back? What's up? So glad to catch you again. I learned so much from you in yesterday's live. Yay! Thank you for your wealth of information. On a future live, could you do more in-depth on term life insurance? Yes, I will definitely do a whole separate live for life insurance with a focus on term life insurance. Because when I start talking about how I don't like whole life insurance and IULs, people go, well, life insurance is very important. Yeah, facts. Life insurance is very important, but term life insurance is perfectly fine. So we could definitely dive into that. I talked a little bit yesterday about the policy that I have, which is a 30-year term life insurance policy. I pay like $77 a month, and it insures my beneficiary up to $1.75 million. That is excellent. Ain't no whole life policy out there for $77 a month that gives you access to over $1 million to your beneficiary. If there is, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Screenshot the terms and conditions and send it to me, please, because it just doesn't exist. I already know that. All right. Jay Davis said, last night I switched my investments from FZROX to FXAIX, or maybe vice versa, FXAIX to FZROX. Listen, whichever one you go with, both amazing. But FXAIX is an index fund from Fidelity that has a small expense ratio, which is a little percentage fee that they charge every year, versus FZROX charges 0. So if you're going to switch from one to one, it might be FZROX because that one is free. But, maybe you meant you did it the other way. All right, let's see. Hello, good evening. Loving your videos and lives. Thank you, Daisy. Thanks for taking your time to bring us so much information. Thank y'all for joining. Honestly, I'm trying to do them more like interactive. Sometimes I have so much that I want to share that I'm just like, all right, that's it. It's going to be like a sermon, like you going to church. I'm just going to talk to you for an hour. But most of the time, I don't want it to be like that. I really do want y'all to come on here, ask me questions and talk to me, because I get so much from interacting with y'all and like knowing what it is that you want to learn, not necessarily what I think you need to learn or what I want to teach you, what's on my heart today. No, it's what do you need to learn and what questions do you actually have to help you improve your finances. So I'm glad that y'all are here. Okay, so I got a comment yesterday on Instagram from somebody when I posted about somebody had asked me about like Robinhood, Acorn, Stash App, Cash App, like can I just buy stocks on those apps? And I did a whole little bit about how you got to be really careful with those investing apps because they are not full service and they are not discounts. So they offer brokerage services through tech apps, but they're not the same as a full service discount brokerage. With the full service discount brokerage, you're going to get the lowest costs and fees on a monthly, on a statement basis, on an annual basis. So you want to go for the lower fees instead of blowing more money for the same service. But in this case, somebody said, I thought 1%, this is a Monte Marie 2024 on Instagram, said, I thought 1% was a little bit. That's what they want you to think, boo. They want you to think that 1% is a little bit. But what you got to do is pull up a compounding calculator. Literally, you could just pull up Google and hit up compound interest calculator as the search, and then click on one of the ones that pops up. You have to type in the amount of money that you're starting with. And, for the sake of looking at how it really hurts you, put a big number in there. Put 50,000, put 100,000. Then put the average interest rate of the stock market of how much it grows over a 10-year period of time. So let's say like 8 or 9% you can put in for the rate of growth or the interest rate. And then put in how many years. So let's say 25 or 30 years. If you see how much that will grow to become, we're talking millions of dollars, right? Or hundreds of thousands, almost $1 million. That amount of money is not all yours to keep because that's the return. That's the total amount that you've made, but you still have to pay for those services. So if they're charging you 1% every single year, what you need to do is subtract that 1% from the growth that you just put in, from the return or the interest rate that you put in, because you don't get to keep it all. You have to give 1% away every year to the fees. So if you subtract 1%, so if you did 8%, now do it again with 7%. If you had put in 9%, well, then subtract 1, do it again with 8%. And then you're going to see the difference in the numbers. You're going to see how much less money you get to keep and what chunk of your money is going away out of your account towards fees. And it is not a little bit of money. 1% They make it sound like a little bit like, oh, you get to keep 99% of your money. You only have to give us one little bitty percent. Nah, it's not one little itty bitty percent. It's 1% that compounds over time, just like your returns. And that's where it really hurts, because 1% compounded over 30 years, 20 years, 40, 50 years, we're talking, depending how much you invest, but hundreds of thousands of dollars for the average person's 401k portfolio, for example. So we got to be careful out here, okay? Amonte Marie said, I didn't know. I thought 1% was a little bit, and I don't think you're the only one who thinks that. I think a lot of people think it's just a little bit to see 1%, but a little bit is close to zero. It's 0.1% or 0.01%. So if there is a decimal point, there should be a zero before the decimal point in order for it to actually be a good fee. If they're charging you 1.0%, too much. Okay, divide that by 10 for it to really be good. Why would you pay 10 times as much as you could if you went with like an index fund or an ETF? So just be really mindful that, yeah, 1% sounds like a little bit, but it ain't. It's not. It's definitely high. All right, let's see. Still on investing, Jay Davis said, no, I thought although it was free, the projected return was higher with FXAIX, plus you recommended it. You know what? That's a really good point. A lot of times you focus so much on the fees, but you also want to look at historical performance. The problem is that when you look at data and research, it says that if you do a simulation and you just run a whole bunch of data every single time and you only look at the fees, and then also you do the same thing but with just looking at the returns, the historical returns in the past, the one of those two simulations that shows you that you make the most money by emphasizing is actually lower fees. It's not higher returns. So even if one fund might have higher returns than another fund, past performance is not indicative of future potential returns. So you can't really look at the past performance. You got to focus more on the fees that they're charging you and focus on lowering those as much as possible. That being said, FXAIX is amazing. It has such a low fee that it's negligible for you to talk about 0 versus 0.01. Like those are so small differences that is, I wouldn't really say it's such a big deal. I think, Jay Davis, if you like FXAIX and you were cool with the returns and the fee is nice and low, stick with it. Stick with it and see how it does for a few years. I really like it. I also like FC Rocks. I think it really doesn't matter. If you're just starting and you have a brand new account and you don't know which one to go with, obviously I would say start with the one that's free, because why would you pay if you can get started for free and keep more of your money working for you? But honestly, any of these low cost index funds or free index funds are all excellent, right? I love them all. All right, there was a DM that I got yesterday because there was somebody in the chat on YouTube Live yesterday who said that they wanted me to talk about employee purchase stock programs, but I didn't quite get to that question before I ran out of time. So we're going to talk about it today. This is Amparo Turner, said, my phone died when I typed my question. Thank you so much for doing your live sessions and explaining everything so eloquently. Thank you. Can you explain how EPSS works? My company's selling them, and I'm not sure if I should jump in on that or not. That is a really good question. So EPSS basically stands for Employer Purchase Stock Program. This is a employer purchase stock program. Basically is a workplace retirement benefit, or not retirement. It's just a workplace benefit. And it basically allows you to be able to invest in that particular company that you work at, their company stock. Now, you're probably thinking, what? I could just go to my brokerage account and buy shares of that stock. I can log into my Schwab account or my Vanguard or my Fidelity account and buy shares of the company stock that I work for. So why would I do it through work when I could just do it in my own brokerage account? Well, the reason is because they give you massive discounts, anywhere from 10 to 15%. That is a huge discount. It's very, very, very unlikely or rare that you would even find a discount on stocks outside of that kind of plan. So unless you're, an insider investor or something like that. So it's really important for you to know, if you are already buying shares of stock for the company that you work for and you have an employer purchase stock program, you're doing it wrong, boo. You need to cut out the investing in your own account and take advantage of the employer stock purchase program, because you're already buying shares of stock for that company anyway. You might as well get them for 15% off. Hello. Now, if you don't really know how it works, it's very similar to like a 401k process, right? You would have to sign up for this program, for this benefit, And not only do you sign up for it, but you have to decide how much you're going to contribute. So how much money from each paycheck are they going to take out and hold it? Now they're only going to hold it for a certain time period, which I think they call it the offering period. So during that offering period, they're just adding money, stacking your coins. Every single pay period, every paycheck, they take a little bit of money that you say the amount, whether it's a certain percentage or a certain dollar amount, and they keep stacking it up. Now, let's say the offering period is 6 months long. So at the end of that 6 month period, they're going to take all that stack of money that you've been accumulating from your paychecks over 6 months, and they're going to use it to buy shares of the company stock at a 15% discount. And the price that they discount the 15% off of is the lowest price anywhere within that 6 month time. So whether the beginning of the 6 month time period or the end of the 6 month time period. So we're talking about really getting the best possible deal on purchasing shares of stock from that company. So if you're lucky enough to have access to an EPSS plan through your job, amazing. It's something that you might want to take advantage of. However, the worst mistake you can make as an investor is to put all of your eggs in one basket. I'm sure y'all heard that term before. Now, this means that your financial plan is not very diversified. So your source of income is also your same source of return on investment, because the company that pays you is also the company that you're investing in. So that is dangerous, because you're essentially like doubling down on this company. They're paying you and you're investing in their future growth. So you want to be really careful that you're not overly putting all this money and emphasis and energy towards this company. You have to make sure that you're balanced out. And you can do that by making sure that you have a well-diversified portfolio outside of that plan through your job. Because if that's the only stocks that you own, red flag, red flag, red flag. But if you have a whole bunch of other stocks or different companies or index fund or ETFs that also invest in many other companies, many other industries, then that's good for you to take advantage of the discounted stocks at your job. So yes, this is a great benefit. I think not every company does it, but a lot of private companies do that because they want to give a little perk to their employees. It kind of gives you another little reason why you like your job. Like, this is a nice perk, you know? Also, on top of that, you just have to be really careful about the tax implications, because just like when you buy stock in a regular investment account and when you sell it, it's going to have some capital gains taxes that you might be liable for. So you're going to have to pay attention to the tax implications. And usually it depends on how long you held it for. So if you held it for, let's say, less than a year, you're going to have to deal with higher taxes, because that's called short-term capital gains tax. Versus if you hold on to it for a year or longer, then you get bumped down to long-term capital gains taxes, which is much smaller percentage of your capital gain. So if you can hold your investments for more than 365 days, you can lower your tax responsibility. You could lower your tax burden, what you're going to owe in capital gains tax. All right, let's see. I'm also a first generation investor, and I find these topics so exciting. Yes, listen, all my first gens out there, this is something that I think we're so nervous to explore because it's so foreign, right? But I really do think I believe we have a responsibility to master this stuff, because our parents came to this country, left everything behind that they knew and loved in their country, right? Their way of life, their family, their community, their friends, the businesses that they used to shop at, everything that they know about how life looks and sounds and feels. They left it all behind to come to this country so that their children and future generations could have a better access to opportunities and potential for prosperity, right? So when you think about that, how can you prosper and do well financially and have access to opportunities if you're closing your mind to what's out there and what is available to you in this country and through this American financial system? So as much as you might hate that it is problematic in a lot of ways, especially overconsumption and some of the negative impacts of capitalism. Yeah, there's a lot of nasty and negative impacts and outcomes, but you have to figure out where you can fit into that and how you can make it work for you. The more money you make, the more positive impact you can make. You can create programs to help. You can help educate more people. You can give philanthropically. You can't really do much of anything when you're limited financially. So I really do think that when you're first gen, you have that responsibility. I feel like I have a responsibility, and it shouldn't feel like a burden. It shouldn't feel like, oh damn, like I got all this pressure on me and it shouldn't feel like that. It should feel like, wow, I'm so lucky to be the one that's first generation here that gets to be the one to access all of this that my parents, my grandparents, my great grandparents, and so on and so forth, previous generations never had access to this stuff. How disrespectful for me to have access and ignore it. How rude. How rude. So to me, that's why I see it that way. I kind of feel like I have a badge of honor that I got to be the first one in my family in this generation to come here and figure out how this all works. Banking, the credit system, investment system, and being able to take advantage of things like a 401k plan. My mom and dad never had those types of investments, or investment vehicles. My parents never even had the type of job where you could get workplace benefits like that, right? So when you think of it that way, you reframe your mentality. I think you move away from the scarcity mindset or that burden mindset of like, oh, there's all this pressure and stress on me, to really seeing it as a badge of honor and an opportunity and a responsibility in a good way. I know responsibility sometimes can be used as a bad thing, but I think it's a beautiful thing. I think if you think of it that way. All right, let's see. Any other questions that came up on my Insta? Okay, I see one. So you talked about custodial Roth IRAs being great for you under 18. So I'm just turning 18, is it too late for me? If you are over 18, is it too late? Basically is the question. No, it is not too late. You just don't need a custodian. You don't need a chaperone. You can open an account by yourself, for yourself, when you turn 18. So once you're a legal adult or of legal age in the US, you can log on to Fidelity, Charles Schwab, Vanguard, any of these really great full service discount brokerages and open your own investment account. They're going to ask you, what type of account do you want? You can select brokerage, taxable brokerage account, Roth IRA, 529, a health savings account. You can choose the type of investment account that you're going to open. But if you are under 18, it has to be a custodial account. You don't have a choice. But if you are not under 18 anymore, then you can just open any type of account that you want. And so I would definitely say if you're 18 or older and you have a job and you earn income on the books, I would say I'd recommend, and most experts recommend, that you start with the Roth IRA first, because it has so many tax advantages and so many different loopholes and ways that you can use the money in a lot of different ways, not just retirement. And especially if you're 18, most people don't realize when you apply for a financial aid for college, the Roth IRA is a gem because it's a retirement account. And technically speaking, when you look at the financial aid, the FAFSA process, they pull everything on you. They pull bank accounts on you, cash that you have. They ask you to report anything that you have in money and assets. But they cannot look at or consider retirement assets. A Roth IRA is technically a retirement account. So if you've been putting money into your Roth IRA, it won't hurt your financial aid eligibility. You'll still be able to get the full financial aid that you're eligible for, that you qualify for. But if you've been putting that same amount of money in a savings account instead of a Roth IRA, then they will see it and they will hold it against you on your FAFSA and your financial aid process, because it's sitting in cash in a savings account, which means they're going to assume that you can use it to buy textbooks, to pay for tuition, and all the things that come with college costs. If it's in a Roth IRA, they're going to assume that's for retirement. So you can't really use it for college, but you can, because there's tax loopholes that allow you to make exceptions and withdraw that money for college expenses. So that's why it's so important to start with the most strategic account, which I think is the Roth IRA, and then go to a regular brokerage account. Now, if you are the kind of person who's like, college ain't really for me, I'm not really feeling it, well, then just go to the brokerage account. You don't even really need to worry about, 529 or college costs or anything like that. But I still would say if you're working and you have income coming in, you still want to retire one day, right? You should probably still start with the Roth IRA, even if you don't think college is right for you, because the Roth IRA still has other benefits besides retirement and besides college. Like you could take out any money that you put in for any reason at all with no taxes and no penalties. And you can take $10,000 on top of what you put in. So $10,000 of any profits or gains to put towards your first time home purchase. So how is that a bad idea? There's nothing that is going to be bad about opening a Roth IRA. It is a great account with so many great perks, and you just don't get those type of tax benefits in a regular taxable brokerage account. So if you have a job and you're working on the books, Roth IRA first, regular brokerage account next is the most strategic, financially savvy order to go in. So I'm gonna die on that hill. I'm gonna say that every single time. All right, let's see. Hi, Charlie says hi. Hi, Charlie. This is my friend Alex. Her baby is watching me. Hi, Charlie. Learning about investing. Oh my gosh, I love this. Yes. If you want to read a book about investing or about money with your kid, I highly recommend that you get this book, which is called Priceless Facts About Money. It's written by Melody Hobson, and I actually recently met her and got an autographed copy of her book. It's such a good one. With a baby that's little and young, you have to read it out loud to them. But once they're a little older, like fourth grade, third grade, fifth grade, and up, middle school and high school, trust me, even high school can benefit from this book. It has so many priceless facts about money, but like really cool historical stuff. And so, Alex, if you're watching with Chucky still, watch. You and Charlie should definitely get that book, Priceless Facts About Money, and read it together. It's super cute and it has a lot of facts about like how money is made and all of these different things about banking and saving money and budgeting, and it's really, really, really sweet. So that's my rec for kids financial literacy books. All right. I think that is all the questions that I had on my videos from yesterday and my DMs. So let me do these last two in the live, and then I'm gonna wrap this up, and we'll be back for another live tomorrow, y'all. Okay, speaking of Roth IRA with the max being 23,500, does that include employer contributions in that maximum, or is it just individual contributions only? So that's not the Roth IRA, that's the 401k or 403b. The Roth IRA has a much lower contribution maximum, which is $7,000 if you are under the age of 50, and $8,000 if you're over 50, if you're 50 or over. So they give you a $1,000 extra catch-up bonus because you're closer to your 60s and 70s, so they want to help you play catch up and invest a little bit more than a regular person under 50 who's not necessarily thinking too far yet about 60s, 70s. I mean, I am, but that's because I'm a money nerd. So this is not the Roth IRA. We're talking about 401ks or workplace retirement plans like 403bs also. The maximum that you can put in is 23,500, and so that does not include employer contributions. So there's a different maximum for employer contributions, which, if I'm not mistaken, it's like 50 something thousand dollars. So together, your contributions plus your employer contributions together have another maximum that's higher than 23,500. So that's the good thing about getting the company match. That if you max out your account at 23,500 with contributions throughout the year from your payroll taxes, from your paychecks, then they can still put more than 23,500 when they add your match to your account. So that's sweet. That's a really good way to get more than $23,500 in your investment, in your 401k or 403b, without you having to put it from your own paycheck. It's your employer matching you. So that's where the company match comes in. And I would say it definitely makes sense to take advantage of it if you can afford to. I know a lot of people that wish they could, but they just can't afford it. They have so much financial strain going on, and that's okay. But put it into your plan where you're going to work up to the point where you can take advantage of your company match, or you can take advantage of fully maxing out your 401k. Like, write it down and make it a goal that you're working towards. Because if you just go, oh, it would be nice. Yeah, I can't. Okay, but you can't forever. That means you don't want to. Because you can if you work towards it and you create a plan and you slowly build up to it. It's not going to be overnight, but neither is anything else in finance. Paying off debt, saving up for a house, building up college savings, paying off student loans, all of this stuff is not overnight. It takes a long time. And then it takes even longer to pay a lot of this stuff back. Paying student loans, paying off your home mortgage, paying off that car. We're talking about years and years and years. So don't rush yourself, but definitely set that goal and try to do everything you can to reach it. All right, let's see. Can you open a Roth IRA if you don't work? I'm a little confused with this. No, Daisy. A Roth IRA is a special investment account only for people who have earned income. You have to be earning income in order to even qualify to open and fund a Roth IRA. So that's the most important thing to know, is this is only for people who are earning income from working. So if you are not earning income at all from working, you can still invest in the stock market, just not through a Roth IRA. You would have to open a regular brokerage account, which is also called a taxable brokerage account. So open a regular taxable brokerage account at a brokerage that you like, Fidelity, Vanguard, Charles Schwab, whatever. And when you go to open the account, it's going to say, what type of account do you want to open? Don't click Roth IRA if you don't got a job. Click regular brokerage account, taxable brokerage account, standard brokerage account. Those are the ones that you want to with taxes or any at work and things like that. So you just basically, you can still invest, but you just can't use the Roth IRA unless you have earned income. You're earning income through your job. All right. Thank you for the clarification and all the other fantastic information in the live. I love these lives so much. Yay. Amazing. Thank y'all so much for showing up. I'll be back again tomorrow for another AMA. So if you have questions that you want me to answer, again, put them in the video comments, put them on my community tab, or comment on Instagram or DM me, or any of those places. I always check to see if there's questions coming at me. And I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye, y'all.